Hi everybody, I'm Conquering History Games, and welcome back to part 2 of my Brazil campaign here in Hearts of Iron 4, the Moe Order. So just one little quick thing I want to say is this is the New Order, which as we know is a visual novel reading simulator where instead of looking at people, you look at maps. I basically have gone ahead a bit just to not like really reading anything, but just sort of making sure that the path I want to go on is going to be correct. And like most countries in the New Order, things aren't really going to kick off until late 63 when Hitler dies. Having said that, there's going to be some interesting stuff along the way. It's just that, and you know, we're going to be able to go to war, by the way, don't worry about that. But I'm just saying that, like, this is going to probably be a long series, but I don't think anybody's going to really have a problem with that. Ooh, you know what? Do I want to pay off the debt? How much liquid reserve do I have? Yeah, but and I don't want to say what path I'm going down specifically just yet. I will say that I'm gonna try to do at least one more Brazil campaign live. Kind of think of this. Do you guys remember my United States of America campaign where I did the Kennedy and Glenn and Strom Thurmond stuff, but then I also did a live stream series where I did a couple terms as George Wallace. That's kind of what I would like to do with Brazil. Is I'm going to have this pre-recorded series where I'm going to be showing you guys a lot of stuff. And then you guys will then know the base of how Brazil works. And then in a future series, like a live stream thing, I could then do a different path. And you guys could, we could do other stuff too. Anyway, let's jump into it, I think. So we're doing the fireworks in Rio. We're going to unpause. And yeah, let's just get to it. Get organizing some things here. Let's get everybody here. Field Marshal here. Who got Humberto? Oops. What a name. Humberto de Alencar Castelo Branco. And I'm sure insulted his entire family because that's not how the Portuguese pronounce it or something. Alright, little wooden boats. We're getting nowhere, Enrique. Odilio Dennis was a broad man, the type of man who was quick to anger and fast to laugh. You see, this is what I'm talking about. It's a novel. These are the new. This is why people say, "Do you like Kaiserreich more, or the New Order more, or Equestria at War more?" It's like they're each bringing different things to the table. Like a Kaiserreich will have these sort of personal events, but it's the New Order really leans into it. You can't just say, "We're getting nowhere, Enrique," Odilio said. They have to say, "We're getting nowhere, Enrique. Odilio Dennis was a broad man, the type of man who was quick to anger and faster to laugh." You just throw all this characterization into a sentence, and that would, in quotation marks, is unnecessary, but it creates different feels for different mods. And so that's why I never say which are my favorites, because everybody's doing something different. And it's not bad. It's not bad. None of it's bad. It's just, it's all different. He could always be trusted to speak his mind, to tell a colleague exactly where they fell down and where they excelled. Though they were in many ways opposite, President Lott had held Denez as one of his closest friends for years. Unfortunately, Lott didn't have the capacity for his war minister's bluntness at the moment. I should have looked up who some of these people were also. I'll do that next time. Next time I'll try to talk about who each of these characters is in real life a little more. Should have done that before. That's kind of my gimmick. Alright, both men were hunched over a large war table depicting the waters affected by Brazil's latest national emergency. Wooden figurines of the proud Brazilian Navy lay scattered on its surface in the latest rough battle plan Lott had devised, an attempt to halt the thousands of pirates infesting Brazilian seas and stealing Brazilian capital. Already the pirates had taken millions of dollars worth of fish and lobster from Brazil's waters, putting hundreds of fishermen out of business. Lott had been repositioning the figures with Denny's input for hours to no avail. The president sighed. "Resources are limited, Odilio. We have to find a way to end these pirates with our current task force. Unless you have ships we can reassign in your back pocket." Denny's folded his arms and stared intently at the largest cluster of ships. "Defense is getting us nowhere. Our destroyers are wasted trying to screen out every ramshackle pirate that steals from us. We need to strike it where they take their product. The German vessels and pirate convoys. Attack, not defend." Denny's had preached it. I didn't get my fan on. Had preached his aggressive tactics throughout their planning, but Lot was unconvinced. A more diplomatic approach, if he could make it work, might solve the problem without sending every Brazilian sailor thousands of miles from home. The remnants of Free France still held a decent amount of ships, and surely the Germans weren't completely unreasonable. One thing was certain: the Lobster War had to be solved immediately before any more lives were lost. Fine, let's Someone was knocking at the door, quite insistently, too. Denny's walked from the table and flung it open, revealing a nervous-looking secretary. What? The president asked not to be disturbed. The secretary nervously smiled at him, peeking around the bulky door to stare at the president. Sir? Quadros has been calling you for half an hour. Remember, Quadros is the vice president, a.k.a. Lammy. Oh, what's this? From American Embassy Brasilia to the Secretary of State, Washington, D.C. Confidential. Report on political situation ahead of elections. Okay. The following is the first of a part of reports on the political situation ahead of the coming legislative and presidential elections. The next 4 paragraphs summarize major parties and their dispositions. Note that there is also a host of minor parties that align with the below. The PS... I think this is kind of reviewing what we already know. So this is just somebody cabling the United States and saying, the PSD and PTB, tradition of what the Brazilians called Varguismo. It's so fun how they do that in Latin American countries. You know, you have Peronismo and Varguismo. And even even if you're of Japanese descent, you have Fujimorismo. It just, there's a nice music to it, some sabor, you might say. You know, as opposed to, I don't know, I probably shouldn't use a modern politician. Like, you don't hear about Washingtonism. It just doesn't flow. But if it was Washingtonismo, I like it. Okay, yeah, so the PTSD is the party of the recently elected President Lott, centrist to center-left in political alignment. The closest American analog is the Republicans. UDN is the main conservative party, aligned with the Vice President Quadros. It is the most powerful opposition to the bloc. They favor integration with the OFN. I advise Secretary of State and the Director of CIA to direct preferential support to them in order to support American interests. PSP is populist. Botto said Helm falls well behind the UDN. Prudent to watch them. PRP, led by exiled Plino Salgado, is right-wing nationalism adhering to integralism. Yeah, keep an eye on them. That's kind of just reviewing what we do. Alright, distractions. Quadros! What is so incredibly urgent? Lot laid back in his chair, eyes closed. Janio Quadros was... you know what? I'm going to look up how... Because I'm saying Quadros, I guess Cuatro. Let me look at it. How to pronounce... Quadro. Dang it, I'm freaking... My fingers have been all... Quadros. How to pronounce Quadros? Here we go.
Quadros.
Quadros? Oh no, this is with 2 S's. Here we go. Quadros. Here we go. Okay. How to pronounce Quadros. Okay, I'm on like some site that shows the meaning, but when I click the thing, origin is Portuguese. Yes, but how do I click the audio? How to pronounce Quadros. Just says that it's easy. I don't... What? Ah! Okay. You know what? Let's try this. I'm gonna cut. Alright, so I looked it up. First name is, I guess, supposed to be pronounced Janio. And the Quadros is more like... excuse me. Quadros. Instead of do. So even though there's the O, it's making the sound. So, Janio da Silva Quadros. Quadros. I'll probably use it interchangeably, so sorry about that. Damn Portuguese. Quadros was hardly his idea of an ideal vice president, but like it or not, Quadros was who the people wanted. Could he be effective on occasion? Certainly, but Quadros could also be abrasive. Lot, I have been Waiting for 2 hours. Oh, is Quadros a drinker? That would be funny because he's played by Lammy. Listen, are you listening? These Argentinians, they're building this dam. I don't know what the fuck accent that is. They're building this dam, right? And it'll be bad for us, for Brazil. Terrible. I need your signature or something to get them to stop, I think. You took a very long time, sir. What? Hanyo, are you drunk? Lot was irritated. She has sent Quadros to Argentina to negotiate with them over the dam, not to get drunk. You took too long. So, yeah, I had a little drink. Tiny. These Argentinians, they're not going to see me until tomorrow anyway. Why not? 4 hours ago when I started calling, I was sober, and you just took too long. This is entirely inappropriate, Johnny. I don't even understand what you want from me. Let's have this conversation tomorrow. Bullshit! I've been calling for 8 hours, Lot. Let's just say the thing. I say, that I could do it. That I could pay back construction costs? I think that's it. Say it. Say it. Come on. They make me pay to make calls from here, Enrique. I need to work on that voice. Fine. Do what you want, Johnny. But tomorrow I need a full report on whatever it is you're trying to tell me. Understood? Yes. I will do those things. Good night, Enrique. Thanks. Be quicker next time, Quadros said before hanging up. Sleep it off, Hanyo. Okay. Just got no resources. Francisca, one of the millions crowding Rio's Copacabana beach to celebrate the advent of a brand new year, cheered as the first of the fireworks began to light up the sky. She kept her... Okay, basically people are celebrating. Vibrant greens, blues, reds, every color imaginable. As Rio was filled with life, her problems seemed to evaporate in the glow. Brazil was not kind to single mothers. Things would be different tomorrow. Back to the cramped apartment, back to 6 hours of sleep between work, watching rich men walk past, those even worse than her without a glance. Every day things seemed just a bit cheaper, every paycheck just a bit bigger, the world just that tiniest bit more equitable. Despite everything, she was proud of her country. As long as Brazil kept to its course, Francisca might just be okay. Hope was in the air. Okay. So, let's start with dealing with this lobster war thing, I think. Yeah. Local fishermen are harassed, their livelihoods suffer, while the so-called capital of the world feasts on our lobster. Oh my gosh, a Japanese hostage was taken at one point. That does cause for an international incident. Yeah, because doesn't Brazil have the most per capita Japanese? Like, not just because Brazil has a huge population, but I think per capita Brazil has the most Japanese people living in South America. Though I thought it was Peru. Let me look that up. Most Japanese people in South America. Let's see, there's a Quora question or something. No, this is just like, how do they do that? I don't know. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Brazil has the most Japanese, but like I said, I'm not 100% sure on the per capita. Okay. Control, victory for diplomacy. Control. The helicopter has touched down in Recliff, and the former hostages are on their way back to the Japanese embassy. We did it, gentlemen. Room burst into cheers as Brazil's biggest diplomatic headache was solved. Months of negotiation, threats, and tracking had paid off. 2 Japanese tourists on vacation, the daughter and son-in-law of one of Japan's richest men, had been kidnapped by pirates off the Brazilian coast for ransom 4 months ago. The Japanese began pressuring and even threatening the Brazilian government within days, demanding the tourists be found and returned immediately. The situation, already a massive incident, was further complicated when it was revealed that the pirates were hiding out in free French waters, sheltering behind a tiny but aggressive navy that had no interest in ousting the pirates for free. In the end, no shots were fired, but millions of dollars were spent on bribes, information, appeasement, and overtime. Brazil's relationship with Japan would forever bear the black mark of this crisis, but at the moment, none of the beleaguered diplomats in the crisis room could bring themselves to care. Most of them were operating on 2 hours of sleep, and the 2 members of the diplomatic corps had already begun filtering out of the room to catch a well-deserved nap. The rest were celebrating a hard-fought victory, a statement to the world that Brazil could solve its own problems, without, and even in spite of, German and Japanese interests. In a way, as the newest member of the diplomatic corps would refer to it later, it was another victory in the long struggle against fascism. His co-workers had made fun of him for that one. Okay, next up. Yeah, and again, I'm not gonna, you guys are gonna slowly start figuring out what it is I'm trying to do, politically, but I'm gonna kind of keep it to the chest, for the most part, the ample chest. Alright, the Lobster War. Lot was reading the latest documents that covered his desk. Reports of piracy and illegal fishing off the coast of Pernambuco have been reported to the government. Alright, where exactly is that? Well, that's not going to help. Let me look it up here. Pernambuco. We got the so this is in the northeast. That's this area. Okay, you can't really see it. It's like around here. It's not its own individual area. It's basically here. So let's close that. The main ports of origin: the German colony of Ventral Africa, and the numerous West African states. Lot coughed before saying, "This is a matter of national security. We have to stop this lobster war immediately." Across his desk sat Odilo Denez, his war minister. So that's this one here with the blue hair, who was smoking a big cigar and whose face had grown angrier as the meeting went on and the numerous reports of the breach of Brazilian waters had been discussed. Right next to him was Admiral Arnoldo Toscano, the man who was dealing with these threats to the north. Toscano looked exhausted with dark circles under his eyes. Notably, Vice President Quadros was not there, Lot having decided not to invite him to this meeting. "I have been trying to stop it," Arnoldo Toscano said. "I have already directed for 2 destroyers to confront the pirates and the fishermen, but this latest resurgence is more widespread than we had thought initially." Adilio chuckled at that and muttered under his breath, "The might of the Brazilian Navy cannot defeat a few pirates. Unbelievable." Lot gave Odilio a quick but stern glance and did not say anything in response. Arnoldo continued, undisturbed by Odilio's comments. "Pirates continue to harass our fishermen and attack tourist boats. It was only a few months ago when the wealthy Japanese couple had been taken hostage by pirates while out whale watching. This has only emboldened further pirates to harass our waters. There are simply too many for just 2 destroyers to deal with. Meanwhile, subsistence fishermen from West Africa and large commercial fishing ships from Central Africa continue to illegally enter our waters to take large amounts of fish. These Central African ships mainly for our prize lobsters. As I have stated, 2 destroyers are simply not enough. I am requesting a larger task force to stop this threat once and for all." Lot remained quiet, thinking about all the possible courses of action and what may happen depending on his choice. After about 10 seconds, Lot spoke. "Arnoldo, you will have your task force." Alright, deploy the flotilla. Lot is given him one, now it needs to be deployed. Alright. Promote, look at whatever. Oh, whoa, shoot, it's election season already. It's time again for Brazil's political parties to gear up for election season. In this year's election, 1/3 of all Senate seats are up for election, 1 in each state. The power balance between the UDN and the coalition of the PSD and PTB hangs in the balance, while the PSP looks to establish itself as an electoral force. Voters around the nation will get a chance to shape Brazil's future. You know what? We're gonna say for right now, because I'm keeping it a mystery what I'm doing, that I don't care. We're not even gonna get involved in the Senate elections because you have to spend political power for it, really, and I want to save that for other stuff right now. So, and again, we'll do more Brazil in the future. So if I'm not going a path you like, it's coming in the future. Don't worry. Which one's which? We'll say the PSP. They're the weakest, so just whatever. Yeah, but if we look here, Senate campaigns are available. So yeah, you can click around and campaign for the different ones in the different states. So yeah, this is obviously could be quite complicated. So these guys only have 4 seats right now, so like we can campaign here. Mobilize the full PSP apparatus in Amazonas in support of Paulo Pinto Neri. Yeah, so we'll do that. Boom, 5%. Nice. Okay. But we're not, so that doesn't cost political power, but we're not really gonna get too into that. There's other stuff I gotta do. We're also gonna be continuously, though, trying to get that loyalty up, which is gonna cost me 60 political power every time, which sucks. Lots of influence is growing a little. See, I like these mechanics, though. They make playing democracies a little more, there's a little more energy to it. New plans, old tactics. Hello, my friend. This is your governor, Ademar de Barros. I'm calling to bring up an arrangement we had spoken about earlier with the man on the other end, a prominent business owner and politician in Sao Paulo. Hung up. Ademar stared at the receiver. By the way, this is, look who's playing Ademar. Stared at the receiver for a solid 5 seconds before sighing and slumping back in his chair. Gah, shit. He picked up his pen, crossing out a name on one long list and adding it to another. One more traitor. Ever since his loss in the election, many of his more tenuous supporters had swapped sides. He had been calling jumped-up bureaucrats for hours now, putting on his usual easy air of confidence with increasing difficulty. I should say she. Ademar wasn't made for calls. She wasn't made for fake niceties, for endless appeals to idiots with frail egos. She needed to be out there, shaking hands, kissing babies, leading a rally, or inspiring a crowd to action. Action! Worthless bureaucrats weren't going to win him her rightful seat. Action was. Ademar leapt from her seat and strode quickly out of her office, beckoning for her secretary right outside to follow her. Surprised, but not used to these kinds of outbursts, she hurriedly grabbed a stack of papers and awkwardly vaulted her desk, running after her as she ducked into the hallway. Take the rightmost sheet off my desk and print 50 copies. I trust you still have the list of instigators? Yes. Good. Give them a call. Tell them to ramp up recruiting and rallying. It's time to pull this back. Ademar was already climbing into her car when she turned back around with a slight grin. I'm going to go stir up trouble. Collect as much scratch paper as you have for when I get back. It's time to revise old plans and draft up new ones. Ademar is back. And with that, she sped off into the streets of Sao Paulo, which is, right here, for those of you who don't know. Alright, let's keep going. We got to February, guys! Of course, as always, place your bets on what's going to happen in Russia. Irkutsk and Buryatia are still at war, so that's always the first thing. You know what? I'm kind of feeling Magadan. I'm feeling Magadan today. I don't know if they'll unite everybody. It's probably always going to be whoever's in the West, but I'm feeling Magadan in the Far East. I just got a feeling. And bet on, who else? On Wales. We need to be betting on Wales whenever we're doing the Moai right. Okay, Little Axe. Goulart's day had been going well enough. He woke up with a firm understanding. This is another person, of interest, so keep an eye on her. Goulart's day had been going well enough. She spoke up with a firm understanding of what the day would bring. She spoke with friends over when she would meet them next, and she was almost at work by the time she tripped. Why it became such a bother to Goulart was what she tripped on, just next to a dark alley. It was the foot of a man, laying in the mud. Before she could even stumble to the ground, Goulart's hands shot out in front of him. Shit, sorry, that's on me. Under a small newsstand's worth of newspaper, the man seemed to be laying down as though he was hiding from bloodhounds or a bear. As the mud beneath him squished as his hands were laid back into the watery dirt. It was insulting to even see someone laying perfectly still in the mud. Goulart was taken aback, more than anything, before reaching out her hand. Here, up! With a sigh and a heave, the two men were standing next to each other, one looking considerably worse for the wear than the other. The man seemed to be only partially protected from the mud. Still, some swatches of it still covered his back, which Goulart couldn't help but feebly trying to wipe off the mud. You all right? The man stood with a look in his eyes that Goulart was pained to even see. Her mind flew to the speech she was to give later today. Wiping off the mud on the poor man was more than enough to let her mind fly to the Aoro and those bastards on the other end of the PSD that let him lay there. Goulart could already feel some new adjustments being given to her speech she was already uncertain of. Sure, just fine, thank you. The look in his eyes, that of a man betrayed 1,000 times over, offered one last betrayal and revealed how the man had been laying there. Goulart checked her watch. 5 minutes. Listen, there's a kitchen down the road and to the left. Get yourself cleaned up, and I'll meet you there in an hour. The man looked at Goulart with what anyone could see as appreciation, even if he didn't say a word. Goulart smiled and walked to her speech. Senado campaign available. Let's just keep doing this in Amazonas or whatever. Doesn't really matter. I'm probably just gonna start ignoring that. Or won't I? I don't know. Maybe I'm bluffing y'all. Where am I coming? I'm going. Alright. Yeah, so I'm thinking Magadan in the east. I'm thinking West Russian Revolutionary Front always wins in the west. Which, it makes sense. Like, they should. They're the ones who have the army and stuff. I think they might also have the biggest industrial base. I'd like to see a Comey come out, though. But I doubt it. Any Comey at all. What else is going on? Let's, I'm gonna say Black League also always wins. So I'm gonna say Sverdlovsk over here, and then in Central, hold on. Toscano on patrol, winning the Capran's headquarters. For over a decade, the Germans have continued to humiliate Brazil, constantly crossing over Brazilian waters and fishing, undermining his country's sovereignty. 12 pirate... Okay, so Side has thought about this. Yeah. All ships are reporting on schedule. 12 pirate vessels have been destroyed utterly, 3 have been captured, and 7 have fled Brazilian waters. All of this with 0 casualties. Tell ships to rejoin the task force. Oh, excuse me. The lobster war will be brought to an end. The Germans will be pushed back one way or another. So we lost 10 convoys, but we get some stability. Alright. Anti-piracy operation time. Okay. What? Oh, I think Ming Zhang won the war. This is such a great portrait. So I think the People's Revolutionary Council lost. I think there's a chunk missing or something. I was just seeing a series of screenshots showing how the People's Revolutionary Council could like technically take on the entirety of the Dai Nippon Taikoku. You know, all this. Everybody in Japan's faction, I guess. I've never played them. I don't know if there's probably some sort of trigger where the AI will always go to a peace deal, but I guess if you're a human player, you can defeat, you're not realistically gonna be able to defeat them. It's like, look at this, you got 8 divisions here. How are you gonna take on, Japan? But it's one of those things that it's technically possible, I guess. So you could have essentially all of China together, and you haven't even started uniting Central Siberia. Okay, freedom to distress. And I think your name would still stay the same, too. So it would say, People's Revolutionary Council. Actually, I guess that works as a name for Mongolia. Alright. You know why you're here. Give me some dirt on this cockroach. Another person of interest here. Carlos Lacerda clapped her hands and wrote a name atop the large blackboard at the front of the crowded meeting room. Enrique Lott. Lacerda had set 13 of her best journalists on investigating every dirty deed, backroom deal, and possible scandal Brazil's current president had even possibly been involved in. Now, they were ready to present their findings, or rather their lack of findings. When nobody spoke, Lacerda threw her hands up in the air. What? We've been looking into this reprobate for months now. Give me something. A nervous-looking woman near the back of the room cleared her throat and shakily stood up as all eyes turned on her. Sir, we regret to inform you that we found, almost nothing, sir, as far as we could tell. She looked expectantly at her vaguely nodding counterparts. Lot is clean. The only concrete accusations are all very minor, nothing worthy of even a tabloid. As far as we can tell, the man is untouchable. She sat back down and the awkward silence resumed. Lacerda looked around the room and sighed. Christ, I don't have time for this. I had to put off a meeting with my poverty council for this, you understand? Rio has the highest rates of unemployment and homelessness in the country, and I should be dealing with it right now. Instead, I'm talking to a group of professional simpletons! A young man in the front stood up, his face fixed with embarrassed indignation. What the hell do you want from us? We can't just make shit up. Lacerda laughed and looked back up from her chalk. Watch me. Extra, extra, Lot seen with woman half his age. Lot, patriot or CIA spy. Fraud president steals votes. Lot bought? On and on, Lacerda wrote, covering the board with eye-catching headlines and random accusations until every inch was covered with a story. Lacerda turned back to the crowd, now staring at her with a mix of disgust, apprehension, and a strange kind of excitement. Get writing! I have a city to fix. Lacerda forgot to leave the chalk. Well, the whole board was covered. Maybe you could erase it. I don't know. But that's going to be it for today. So we've met 3 persons of interest here in Brazil. Thank you very much for joining me. I will see you next time when we keep dealing with this lobster war. Bye-bye.